Here's what's going to happen. We're going to work on breakdowns for time. Okay, as many breakdowns to a pinning situation, a holding, time hold, osai situation as you can do. So Derek's going to start pretty much any position he wants, but Eric on the bottom here, he's on elbows and knees. Okay? So Derek's job, I'm going to start the clock for 30 seconds, and I say go. He's going to shoot a forearm near leg, any type of breakdown he wishes. Any way to get him on his back, turn him onto his back, stick him for a second, pop him, get right back up. Eric gets right back up, and he does it again. You can go right and left, side to side, I don't care how you do it, but do as many good, effective breakdowns as possible under time, the stress of time. Okay? And that's what we're just going to keep doing. All right? Everybody got that? Okay, let's go ahead and team up. Sandy, keep it rolling. And let's team up, and let's start. I'll start the time with you, everybody. So let's go ahead, get a partner.
Come on, guys, hurry up.
Elbows and knees, not partero, on the elbows, and the other guy to the sides.
Go.
Real quick. Get in. Let's go.
Get started, guys.
Come on, guys.
Don't waste our camera time. Yeah, you can help him too.
Sure.
Because he's done a few of these before. It's been a while.
Wait till I tell you. Gentlemen, wait till I tell you. All at the same time. Okay, ready? Get down. Set. Go. 30 seconds. Work it. Arm near leg. Belt Nelson, anything you want to do. Work it. You're going. 3, 4, keep going. Guy, keep doing it. 30 seconds. 5, 4, 6, keep going. 5 seconds. 30 seconds. One more. Time. Okay, the other guy. Hop him up. Get ready. Okay, get set. Arm. Close to the leg. And go. Keep pushing, get flat. Now, go back. Do the same thing. You got the leg. And on his back. Alright, yeah, trying to turn him. We want to turn him. No resistance. Spooky. The guy having done there.
Try not to lift him. Try to push and drive him. Scoop and drive. Don't lift.
But you want to push into his chest at the same time. You're doing good.
A few seconds left. And time. Good. Hey everyone, Steve Scott here, and thanks for tuning in for another episode of Coaching on the Mat here on our website. So today's topic is time management. How to manage your time and how to get the most out of the time you have with your athletes or students on the mat. We're not on the mat 24/7, so we got to use our time wisely. And that's always been a big hang up for me. I've always been kind of a geek about time. And I really try to manage my time well when I'm coaching. Sometimes I wonder if I ever have enough time, and then I realize, well, if I manage it a little better, I would have enough time. So it's just a matter of getting to the business and doing it right. So a lot of things I would talk about here today, I learned the hard way, but I did have some help. I had some help along the way from some good coaches and some good reference material. Speaking of reference material, I would recommend my book, Coaching on the Mat. Okay, it's a good book, and a lot of people have used it. It has some information about time management in there. I think it'd be valuable to you if you want to study the subject. There are also other good books available in a lot of other sources about time management as well, and I would certainly look them up and read them. And there are a lot of things on the web. A lot of things that you can easily watch on YouTube, places like that, about managing your time as a teacher. So anyway, let's get into it. Speaking about time management, again, as I said, we only have so much time with our people on the mat. Let's say you are in an average situation where it could be a private dojo, could be a community center, a YMCA, a public gym of some type, where let's say you have access to the mat 3 times a week. Let's say you have access a whole bunch of times in the week, but you have 3 practices or classes a week with your people. And you really have to manage that time. Or you may have a lot of time available, but you have to realize that you have to break your classes up to different age groups and so on, and that's a different thing, but you really should. I mean, we shouldn't really try to mix adults who are very interested in, say, competing for competitive judo or sambo or some type of jiu-jitsu or something, in with children. They shouldn't be in the same group. And that's another subject for another video and another part of another book. But for time management purposes, if you have good class management to begin with, you'll have better time management. In other words, if you have the proper people in the proper class or practice or workout, you're going to be able to manage your time a whole lot better. So that's something to remember with organization, class organization, coaching organization is a precursor to having good time organization or time management. So remember that, okay? So let's say I have a group, which I do. I have a group that meets with me at our Welcome Mat Training Center, and I also meet with some other people at my community center where I used to teach from time to time. But I have these guys so many times a week, okay? And we've got to develop our time, or a program where we get the most out of that time they're with me. Generally, my workouts, I'm just talking about my situation here, and we're going to talk about what other people can do as well. But my workouts are generally an hour and a half to 2 hours in length, usually about 2 hours, okay? Because I do a lot of coaching at this level, a lot of teaching, where technical teaching as well. So it takes some time to do that. But it really depends on the time of year. When I was coaching, a lot, competitive athletics or athletes in judo and sambo primarily, it depended on, I would do periodization or cycling of training, and depend on if we were training for a specific event or tournament. So if we're 10 weeks out or 14 weeks out or 16 weeks out of a major competition, I'm going to structure my period of training, that's what periodization is about, my period of training to meet the goals of the people I'm coaching. But generally these days, I coach more on a recreational level for myself, but certainly a good higher level for the people I like to teach with. I don't coach so many competitive athletes as I do people who are interested in learning things from me. And so they come in and want a good hard workout, the 2 hours they're with me. And in addition, I try to teach them some good skills along the way. So that's kind of the goal of what I'm doing. So this brings up this point before time management has to be addressed. What are my objectives as a coach? Okay, how much time do I really need to spend with these people? First of all, I've got class organization, so I've got to know who I'm working with. Am I working with kids, adults, whatever it is? So in this case, I just mentioned I'm working with adults, older teens and adults. Okay, so we have a group. We know the age group. Now we have our goals. What do we want to do? Well, a lot of people like to come and just train with me, learn some skills, get some good ideas. I have some black belts who like to train with me and pick my brain as we go along. At my age, that's great. I hope there's enough of a brain left to pick, but as an aside, but really, that's what my goal is now, is to help people learn more technical aspects of judo, not just train competitive athletics or athletes. So there we have it. So I've changed my goals a little bit in my training. So now I can manage my time efficiently. Okay, so let's look at how I break down a practice. Maybe can give you some ideas about how you break down a practice as well. Let me get a quick sip of my iced tea here. Unsweetened, I like it unsweetened. I don't like sugar too much for obvious reasons. So there's your health lecture, I guess. But anyway, I take that, go back to the main subject here. There are pretty much about 6 aspects, 6 phases of a training program generally with me. Now, again, depending on if we're training specific athletes for a specific purpose, the workout will change. By the way, real quick before I start, there's a difference between a class and a workout, okay, or a practice. A class is where you generally have an organized group. The primary purpose is to teach or educate. It's more physical education based, okay? That's a class, okay? A practice or a workout is kind of more of a generic name. It can be a class where learning does take place, but also we do a lot of drill training, a lot of harder training, randori based, could be like that. A practice is where we just basically come in and practice things we already know and do. We just want to get better at it. You're going to see more practices in a training cycle leading up to an athletic event, a tournament or a fight or some type like that, in a training camp or a periodization. So a practice, you're going to see less learning acquisition from a coach. It's going to be reinforcing a lot of things the athletes already know. A workout is kind of a generic name I use a lot. It could be a class or could be a practice, but it generally has a little bit of both. A workout has a lot of training elements where there's hard training, but there's also an element of learning that goes along with it. So that's why I'm calling what I'm calling now workouts. But classes are like a kid's class. The kids are there for an hour or whatever it may be. You teach them good physical education skills, teach them good fundamental skills, judo, sambo, jiu-jitsu, whatever it may be, and let them practice, let them have some time. But it's more of a class atmosphere. So not everything's a class, okay? Not everything's like an aerobics class or a jazzercise or whatever they do. There are different levels of training, so let's call them by the proper nomenclature. So anyway, this is a workout. It's kind of a generic name. So there are about 6 phases to it. Let's look at them. The first is the start, the warm-up. I always start and end my practices with a bow. Okay, I'm traditional. If you don't, that's fine. If you're sambo, you don't do that. But certainly when I do judo, jiu-jitsu, we do that. Okay, I like to do that in my gym because it organizes us. We have a definite starting point, and we have a definite ending point. Okay, so everybody starts, we bow in, and we warm up together. Okay, now some of the guys might have shown up early and started their warm up or whatever. That's great, but we do our warm up in several phases to the warm up. First of all, I physically warm the guys up. Okay, and get the bodies, the muscles actually warm. Okay, then I can go on to stretching, a little more stretching phase. Okay, so we stretch, do some calisthenics that are more stretching based, range of motion, stay within the range of motion. Remember, we're training grapplers and fighters. We're not training gymnastic athletes, or gymnasts I should say, so they don't have to do real extreme stretching. Stay within the range of motion, but which will actually enhance their judo, sambo, whatever it may be. So remember that when you're stretching people, okay? Don't go overboard on the stretching. It's good, but not too much, all right? Then we do some tumbling, some ukemi, break falling. We do a lot of rolling falls, maybe back falls, depending on the skill level of people I have in the practice that night or workout. But we do a lot of rolling falls, a lot of cartwheels, round-offs, things like that to help them. You'd be surprised how you can see 55-year-old men try to do round-offs or cartwheels, and a lot of them get it done. Okay, some don't, but a lot of them do, so give them the opportunity. It's very good physical education. We also do a lot of, not a lot, but sometimes we do games or fun drills as part of our warm-up. Okay, climb the tree, mat tag, different things like that. Just 1 or 2 warm-up games is sufficient. It starts the practice off or the workout off right, and it's enjoyable. But don't spend a whole lot of time warming up. Please, coaches, you're wasting time. We're talking about time management here. You're wasting time if you stand there and count ichi, ni, san, shi, go, and you're waving your arms up and down. You're kicking your legs. You're doing bouncing, whatever. Look, let them warm up. Don't do this as a time waster. Your warm-ups should be efficient, get to the point. We want to get to the main part of the practice, which is actually doing the skills, okay? I immediately know when I walk into a dojo or a gym and I see the instructor warming his people up or they're starting to practice and they're doing an inordinate amount of circling the hands or circling the head or some other type of exercise that they really don't need to do 25 repetitions of or 50 repetitions of when 10 will easily do or even less or even don't even do that exercise. So, don't use warm-ups as a time waster. If you don't know what you're doing, learn better to find out what you're doing as a coach and provide a better practice for your people, okay? So I can't stress this enough. The sign of a bad coach is a guy who does repetitive, boring warm-ups. Don't do them. Warm-ups should be enjoyable, fun, and get to the point. Okay, enough of that. The next phase, we're going into our drilling phase. Now, you can say this is two parts of one drill training or have separate phases of drilling. You can do that however you want to look at it. But the next phase of practice is drill training. Okay, you can use drill training to reinforce skills already learned at this point. That's why we're doing this. Later on when we're doing when I'm teaching a move or something, I'll do some drills to reinforce the new skill. But right now, we're using drills, both ground fighting drills, newaza drills, and standing drills, tachiwaza drills, as reinforcing things they already do well. I'm a big believer in doing structured drills. Structured drills. In fact, most of my practices are drill training with some things extra, some learning and randori thrown in. Not thrown in, but extra, part of the practice. Drill training is structured training, okay? Drills provide structure to your practice. Use them. There are a lot of drills. You can take any phase of any form of martial art and turn it into a drill. You can watch any tournament or any fight or any match and take portions of that and turn portions of that into some kind of a drill, okay? There are specific drills you can use. There are fixed drills. They're closed-ended drills. When I say closed-ended, they have a specific purpose, okay? One, I do a lot of mat uchikomi, or uchikomi with standing, but also ground fighting uchikomi. Okay, we will set numbers of, you'll do so many repetitions of spinning jujigatami. You know, I do 5, you do 5, back and forth. We do 10 sets of 5 or 5 sets of 5. Or I could start my clock and I'll say, okay, grappler A, grappler B, you know, partners. Okay, grappler A, do as many good repetitions as you can in a minute. And then grappler B, you do the same. And then back and forth, change back and forth. Do several rounds of that. So the coach can time the drills or set them like in a weight room. You do sets and repetitions. But in any event, have it structured where they do a specific number of drills or a specific time in drill training, and they do one drill leads into the other. Again, time management, everybody. Manage your time. If you can drill, let them flow. Let them flow. I do a lot of closed-ended or skill drills where you're doing a specific skill that we have varying degrees of opposition or cooperation, I should say. So my partner, he might give me 100% cooperation, and I'll say, okay, you know, the coach could say, okay, give him 25% resistance or whatever. Never 100% resistance, because then it's a full fight or randori. But you want to have different levels of resistance. But you can do these in skill drills. That's this first phase. After we warm them up, do our tumbling or stretching, that type of thing, get into your drill training, okay? That's phase number 2. Both ground fighting and then standing, okay? There are some coaches who don't like uchikomi or fitting practice. I like uchikomi. I was back and forth as a young coach back in the 70s and 80s, whether I wanted to do a lot of uchikomi or not. Uchikomi or fitting practice, especially for throwing, can be a huge time waster, but it can also be used to a great asset for your training in your training and your athletes. So use your uchikomi fitting practice wisely. You can do uchikomi for ground fighting as well as standing, okay? Do moving uchikomi. You can do static uchikomi for a specific reason. You can do moving uchikomi for a specific reason. We have a lot of videos on our website to see about different types of drills. Uchikomi is a specific type of drill, ground fighting and standing. So use uchikomi wisely, okay? Don't just stand there and do lots of uchikomis. I remember as a young man, somehow I lived through it, I have no idea. A workout would be, we would warm up, do about 20 minutes of stretching and warm up, another, you know, and then ukemi. So you're looking at 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes of stretching and ukemi, and then we would do uchikomi. And we would do about 500 uchikomi each. That took a long time. Static uchikomi often by the instructor's count. Ichi, ni, san, his count. It got real boring, okay? Then we would do a little groundwork, not much. Then the instructor might show a move, not much. Then we beat the snot out of each other for about an hour in randori, okay? In spite of that, some of us got good, okay? Now that may still work for some people. Great if it does for you. To me, that's a boring workout where you do all these uchikomi and not much else, okay? I had an instructor, well-meaning, not very good instructor. I'm not going to say names or anything. He told me one time, as I was a young coach asking about how to be more efficient in my time management, he said, well, when you run out of stuff to do, just do more uchikomi. He said, it doesn't matter. And he meant it well, But really, that's not the answer. So if you run out of ideas to stuff to do, don't do more uchikomi, okay? So enough of that. All right, so the drills are important, and make the drills interesting and pertinent to what you are doing, all right? If you're training your athletes for a competitive judo tournament, a lot of situational drills. Now, I just talked about skill drills and closed-ended drills. There are open-ended drills or situational drills also, where you can have specific things you can drill on. You can put your athletes in a specific situation and give them guidelines to follow or ideas to use and have them do it. You can, whether it be technique or tactics, you can have them do specific things you want them to do. Okay, so that's more of a situational drill. Another open-ended drill is give them a task. And again, it's kind of a situational drill, but it's up to them. It's almost like semi-rondori. It's up to them, based on their training and experience and expertise, to figure out what you want them to do. Okay, you've given them this task, then do it. Okay, we call that mat chess. Okay, and it's kind of like a chess game with your partner, your opponent. So that's something you can do as well. There are a lot of different types of drills. So the first phase is warm-up. Second phase is drill training. Okay, now manage your time. I'm going to spend, if I've got 2 hours at my disposal, I'm going to spend about 10 minutes on the first phase and about probably 45 minutes on that second phase. Now, that's a long time, but you've got to remember, move from one drill to the other. Don't let them get boring. That's why you as a coach got to study your drills. Watch the drills we have on our page here, our website here, and other places you can find them in books, YouTube, whatever it may be. And you make up your own drills. Make them interesting and pertinent to what you're doing. Everything must be relevant to the activity. Your warm-up should be relevant to the activity. Your drills should be relevant to the activity. Okay? Don't just do drills to keep them busy. Make it relevant to what they're doing. That's a positive, good use of your time. Okay. After I do this, okay, often the way I teach now, I will be teaching a move. I'll be showing a move, something that we've been working on lately. I do a class outline. I do my lesson plans. I have something the group wants to do. That lesson plan may change, depends on who show up. If I expect a certain group of guys to show up one night and they don't show up for some reason, but I get another group of guys that first lesson plan wouldn't be pertinent to or relevant to, then I'll change my lesson plan. Okay? But generally I'll have a lesson plan, things I want them to do, and it will be sometimes relevant to a drill we just did, or we might be training for a competition down the road, or there's some specific things I want them to do in terms of learning more skills as a physical education, whether it be judo, sambo, jiu-jitsu, something along that line. I will teach them something. I break it down. We let them have plenty of time to practice. The teaching phase usually takes anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes at a time, including the time I give them to drill on it. Okay, so I may show them the move, let them get it. Don't blab on like I'm doing on this video, but don't blab on. Get them where they're really getting to it. Teach it efficiently, but effectively, where they get the whole phase of the movement, and then let them practice. And then expect them to make mistakes. Don't expect them to get it perfect the first time. After you teach it, you get the main points down, then go from group to group. You as a coach, if you have an assistant, have him help you or her help you. Go from group to group and give more personalized coaching. And that is definitely good management of time. So I did a specific group coaching, and then I went from for the whole group, and I went from team to team or group to group, and specifically with those two athletes and then the next two athletes or whatever. Everybody's going to do it slightly different, okay? Teach the fundamental move, and then as you see you're going from group to group, you're going to be seeing some changes in that move. They're going to be doing it slightly different. And as long as it's effective and staying within the confines of the technical basis of what you're teaching, go with it, okay? And correct them as necessary, but encourage them to be innovative in their own way, but also learn the good fundamentals, okay? So that's about 15 minutes of time, including the drills, the specific closed-ended or skill drills you want them to do to reinforce that move. It may be, your drill may be, we worked on a throw that night, a big throw. I'll say, okay, guys, get out the crash pads. Let's do, each guy do that throw 25 times or whatever it may be. I give them an assignment, and they'll work on that. It just could be working on the crash pad, okay? So it could be that something that's simple, or it could be a little more complex drill I have them do, but have them work on it, okay? So that drill now helps them learn the new activity. Remember earlier we said drills can reinforce and do reinforce already learned skills? Well, now we're having them learn the new activity through these forms of drill training, through a specific drill. So there you go. All right. After you teach, by the way, give frequent water breaks, okay? When they need water, every so often, let them go get water, okay? With adults, generally I'll say, when you guys need some water, go get it. Bow off the mat, go get water, bow back on the mat, get water. Always wear shoes off the mat, by the way. Don't run around barefoot. Nobody wants a dirty mat. But that's an aside. But with the adults, I'm generally more lenient about when they need to get water because they don't play around when they go to the water fountain like kids do. But you may need to have water breaks from time to time. But give them plenty of time to go get water and rehydrate, come back on, let them be fresh, okay? If someone has special needs, someone who may be diabetic or have something that he or she needs to bring with them, that they need a little extra sugar boost or something, let them go do that, okay? At any point they need to along the time of practice. Again, we're there for our students and our athletes to help them learn and progress and enjoy the practice. And have a good, safe, and enjoyable practice. Everybody goes home better for it. So water breaks, any type of necessary breaks, take them, okay? After that, don't let them cool down too much. Keep them warmed up. Let's go into more free practice. Now, free time. Now, not everybody wants to randori. Now, generally, I'll do about 4 or 5 rounds of ground randori and about 4 or 5 rounds of standing randori. Standing randori is also going to the ground randori. We start standing, but we always go to ground footwork if it happens in a match. We don't just stop, like some dojos, just do only ground work and only standing work in randori. I blend them when we start. When we do the newaza randori, I do that for 2 primary reasons. One is to get them better at their mat work skills, their ground fighting skills, but really it's good for conditioning. It's a good conditioning. Newaza randori or ground fighting, grappling or rolling, going live is a very good conditioning drill. So I have them do it. But the standing randori is too. But when we do standing randori, we start standing, we'll do the throws. If we transition to the ground somehow, I let them keep going to the ground. Now, after a while, they'll stand up and start again, okay? So it's not just a ground fighting randori type thing. It's starting standing. We try to get back up with some reasonable time. So, but I do have generally it's about 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes at the most. Sometimes only 20 minutes. Depends on how much we've been drilling or working on a new move. It depends on each workout. Each workout has its own dynamics. I may be a little short of time, so I only give them 20 minutes or 25 minutes instead of 30. I'd really like to schedule 30 minutes of randori or free practice. Now, not everybody can or wants to randori. You may have some people, you may have older students who are very good students, but he's 60 years old. He doesn't want to randori a 22-year-old. He may want to, and if he does, let him randori at his own speed, okay? But he may just want to practice on the crash pads. He just may want to do something else, work on a drill, or she. Let him do it. Get a partner, let him do it. It's open practice. Remember, randori means free practice, okay? It doesn't mean just fight, okay? So use it for what the term means. It's an open time to practice. Randori always should be structured, always should be supervised. Don't just let them beat the snot out of each other. If you see someone bullying another one, stop it immediately. Take care of the bully. Get rid of that problem. That is a problem, okay? So we don't want anybody injured. We want everybody to enjoy themselves, but we want everybody to have a good hard workout too. So have them work out to their level, okay? So if you've got someone who's nursing an injury and you're just happy to see him there and he's got great enthusiasm, don't expect him to randori if he's injured, okay? Let him nurse it along, get along. When he's able to randori, he will, okay? Again, you may have students who can't randori for whatever reason. They don't need to randori. Have them practice something. This is a phase, like I said, open practice, okay? So that's about a half hour of time, all right? After you're done with that, end the practice. All right? And when you end the practice, I like to have what Jigoro Kano called mondo, question and answer. It's a chalk talk. It doesn't have to be a long, lengthy thing where you sit there and pontificate and study the stars or the moon or some esoteric thing. Talk about what you did. It's pertinent, relevant to the practice you just had or class you just had or workout. Keep it pertinent to that. Then you may have some other comments to make on this or that, or how they did at a tournament, or how they did at this or that event, whatever it may be. Or you may have some announcements, upcoming training camps, upcoming special classes, or special events, or tournaments, or competitions, whatever it may be. Use this back into the time after you get them together. I like to circle my guys up where we're all on the same team. We all can see each other. We're all adults. Kids, I usually have line up, in a very structured way. But with adults, I have them kind of circle up. It's more of a friendly, relaxed atmosphere. That's my style of coaching. You may not want to do that. You may have them line up. Totally okay with me. It doesn't matter to me. But in any event, you've got them together. We're all together at the end. Make sure everybody's gi is properly tucked in, bowed, tight, or tight, tied, I should say. Their belt's tied. They look clean and neat. Don't just let them stand there any old way. Make sure they're in proper judo gi when they end, or jiu-jitsu gi to finish, okay? And it's like I said, have a chalk talk, finish up. Any announcements you need to make, any comments. At this time, you may make any club promotions. That's what I do. So-and-so, here is yellow belt, congratulations. We'll give him his award, belt, whatever. That's when we'll do that, okay? And then after that, bow out, okay? I always like to clap. We always applaud each other. Like I said, guys, let's give each other a good round of applause because nobody else is giving it to us. So let's give it to ourselves, okay? So we joke about that. We applaud each other, and everybody shakes hands, okay? It's a good team atmosphere. Shake hands with your training partners, okay? We want to try to get along with them. Like my friend Harry Parker said, the best piece of training equipment in a dojo is another human being. Don't take advantage of those human beings. Enjoy them. And part of that enjoying and part of that appreciating, I should say, is to shake their hands and thank them for giving you a good workout. And they'll do the same to you. So there's some phases. So you manage your time wisely. Okay, use it. Use every second you've got on the mat. Now, one more point that's a key one here. And if you've stayed with me these 30 minutes or so, you have tremendous endurance. But here's a key point. Maybe here's the big point to catch. I have what I call a 90-10 rule in my coaching. The 90%, 10% rule. Okay? 90% of the time when they're on my mat with me, they're moving, they're working, they're doing something. Okay? They're drilling. They're doing something. 10% of the time is some type of rest. I don't stand there and blab on like I'm doing in this video. We get to the point, I'm succinct, we get the job done. If I'm coaching, I coach effectively as possible, but I let them practice more. They need to be doing the movements. They need to be doing these things. So 90% active, 10% sitting or resting, okay? And that's an active rest. Okay, that's an active, they need the rest. Part of that 10% is letting them go get water as necessary, okay? So I've been to practices, and I hate to say this, you warm up together, it's a hard warm-up, and the instructor has them sit for 20 minutes, and he yaps on about whatever he wants to yap on about. And they're totally cooled down, and now he goes and flies into some kind of other thing, and injuries can take place, they're bored. It's not a good practice, okay? So, again, using your time management skills, use your time wisely, use that 90-10 rule. 90% of the time they're active, 10% of their time they're not. And this is even for recreation level students, whether children or adults. You don't have to work them where their tongues are hanging out. But if I've got, when I was training athletes for national, international events, their tongues were hanging out. But by the way, they had fun, they enjoyed it, and they kept coming back. But you've got to make sure they work hard. And the 90%, 10% rule is a good way to do that. I think if you follow the 90-10 rule, you're going to get a lot of good positive benefits from your students. They're going to get a lot of good things out of your practice, and you'll get good results. You really will. And they'll enjoy the practice more. One last thing, time management, it goes along, there's a psychology to it. You're always selling what you're doing. You're always selling what you're doing. Part of that selling what you're doing, everybody, is fool them into having fun. Fool them into enjoying themselves. It's okay to talk during practice. It's okay to enjoy practice. Yelling and screaming and running around off and on the mat, doing stupid stuff, no, that's not acceptable. But you can enjoy, adults can enjoy it, kids can enjoy it. There's going to be a certain level of noise. As my friend John Saylor says, it's a party, it's not a funeral. He said, it's a practice party, it's a judo, jiu-jitsu party. Let them enjoy it. It's not really a party where it's a wild, crazy party, but they can enjoy themselves. And that's, if you fooled them into it, the 2 hours go by fast. I've actually had kids tell me for whether it be an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever the practice was. I had teenagers tell me, is time up? Do I have to go home now? I mean, a coach wants to hear that. Is it time? Do I have to go home, coach? Yeah, you got to go home. Got to go do your homework, whatever. That's what you want to hear as a coach. So anyway, there are a lot of things out there on time management. This is my take on it. Again, it's based on years of coaching. I hope you gain something from it, and I hope it adds to your coaching. So thanks a lot for tuning in.